Hello.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's very interesting to be up here not hiding behind a guitar and not singing everything that's going on, so
We're going to sing everything in our presentation now. No. Thank you, Tom, for having us. We wanted to share our story with you, if there are any songwriters or artists here tonight, and just tell you our story. Everyone's story here is so unique and so different, and that's what makes everyone really special. But we'll tell you, we never set out initially to be country recording artists. We never set out to end up here in Nashville. We were just two kids from Northern Virginia that met at church singing worship music, and a lot of story happened in between, and now here we are. So we want to share that with you tonight, and we'll start with Mr. Bryan Dawley.
we will indeed.
And you can laugh at that, because I laugh at it.
So I'll start with a little bit of my story. Aside from having the best hair at J. Lupton Simpson Middle School in Leesburg, Virginia, I grew up playing in church and got to cut my teeth like learning instruments and filling in for drummers that didn't show up and so forth. And eventually decided that I wanted to pursue music as a career. And so I went to a small school for college in West Virginia and just wanted to be a bass player, an electric bass player. And eventually found out that I had subscribed to a classical music program wherein I had to learn how to play the orchestral bass, the string bass. And so, I think one of the things that I learned most from that was the discipline that it takes to do anything new. And to become proficient on any new instrument or any new thing. And being in the West Virginia area, I was exposed to a lot of sort of Appalachian bluegrass culture. And eventually, in my mind, one thing that I wanted to do musically was to sort of fuse that music and those instruments with pop music. And so that's one thing that we've been able to do with our music, and one thing that's really special and important to us. So here's me playing some string bass, and then I met the mandolin, and all was over. So that's a little piece of my story. I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, the other prettier half of this band.
Which you can see in this photo. Bryan met me on the streets. I was alone and tired and a lesbian.
Destitute.
No. I was an actor in DC, and I was actually portraying a punk rock lesbian obsessed with Patti Smith, if any of you are familiar with Patti. So totally typecast. You'd probably laugh if you knew me, but that's not really me. But I was an actor. And I was in DC, and I graduated with a theater degree and a minor in French, so my parents were really nervous. And I promised them, I said, listen, the passion that I have for storytelling, however that looks, I promise you, you won't be disappointed in my choices, because my passion for storytelling is enormous. And I never thought that would translate to playing commercial country music, but here we go. So this is another play that I did called Scorched. It was a 3-hour piece about the war in Lebanon. So it was exciting. But what I learned the most from theater and from the idea of storytelling and live performance in general is that it takes meticulous attention to detail and a group of people that specialize in something. So in the theater, you have somebody that does the lights. You have a specialist that does the sound. You have a specialist that researches the play and keeps the director focused on whether or not the content is correct. And that really taught me a lot about collaboration and the importance of collaboration, the importance of the strength of what you do, and also acknowledging your weakness. And I think Bryan and I, being in a duo, have really been able to figure that out with ourselves and our music, because Bryan comes from this extremely musical background, classical bass clarinet, as you all saw. Ooh. And, all the bluegrass instruments, and he really can pick up any instrument, even if he's never seen it, and play it, because he's a disciplined musician. So me coming from a totally different direction of just wanting to tell people stories, together we met with these backgrounds.
Eventually we did, and here we are with the very same haircut. Singing some karaoke at home, and this was right around the time that we met, and you know, what was interesting about her story was so interesting to me, and vice versa, and so we really started our creative process together, writing and playing shows, and we started a band in Virginia, where we're from, and at the time it was called Deep River. It was the two of us and a local songwriter in the Northern Virginia area, and you know, that was the first time we really cut our teeth in songwriting and just being a part of the music business and touring and traveling and stuff. And so we had a residency, at a club in New York City called Rockwood Music Hall. And so we played there about every 4 weeks, and we would travel, you know, up to New York and back. And eventually we met some BMI reps in New York that were like, you know, what you guys are doing would really, really have a place in Nashville. Have you been down there? And we said no. And so eventually we trickled our way down south and west, and where we met one of the earliest believers in our music, Beth Laird, who was working at BMI at the time, and she gave us some great opportunities when we first moved to town to sort of get in the public eye here and play some shows and start writing with people. And so yeah, this is our first show that we played in Nashville right here.
This was August of 2011, and Beth Laird is here on the left. For those of you, can you raise your hand if you're an artist or a songwriter or interested in it in here? Okay. If you guys are not aware of BMI or ASCAP or any of those, what are they called?
Performing rights organizations.
Thank you. If you are not familiar with those, get familiar. BMI is our saving grace. They're like our Switzerland when things go down. And so anyway, here we are, and this was so exciting for us because we're like, oh my gosh, we're playing in Nashville, it's Music City, it's so famous. And we came here every month for about a year in a van. We stayed for a week, and we started co-writing, which was our first experience doing that, which changed our lives. Bryan and I loved it. It was another example of the learning your strengths and your weaknesses and using other people's strengths and weaknesses and making an amazing product. So we got offered a publishing deal really fast, which was so exciting and such a blessing, but we were like, whoa, okay, this means we have to move, and we were still a trio at the time, and our third member of our band was not interested in moving. So here comes the big like music business punch to us, where it was like, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in Virginia and keep touring up the East Coast and doing that, or do you want to go like write and play music for a living? And Bryan and I had a conversation one night, sponsored by wine, and we were like,
let's go. Let's go now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're given the opportunity to sign a publishing deal and write music full time. Here is us deliberating over our deal points.
We didn't read it. We just took a tequila shot and
that is tequila in the middle. And so really that started the musical process for us, sort of putting a record together and a collection of work that took her influences and my influence and sort of fused those together. And we were able to go in the studio and write and record 9 songs and pitch those to labels in town. And very quickly, for us or anyone, we were offered a record deal at Showdog Universal, Toby Keith's label, and that was a great experience, a huge learning experience for us, and really right away we were able to take a single to radio and meet a lot of country radio, which, if you don't know, country music lives and dies by that. So we were able to forge those relationships and do that pretty quickly. And
it was the first time we felt like we had a real job, because we had to wake up at like 6 a.m. every day to get on a plane for radio tour, which was a lot of discipline for us, but we did it.
And so after that, we, we've had some huge life events. Like we get to play at the Opry a couple times now, and just standing on that stage, just being 2 kids from Virginia is an incredible thing, and we're so blessed. And one of our favorite things as a band is just playing live. We love being on the stage. And here's a picture of us opening up for Sam Hunt at a big outdoor festival. And you know, so we've been able to do a great amount in our small time here in Nashville. And it's been riddled with hard times and good things all the way across the board. And I think one thing that we've learned throughout is, you know, take time to laugh and enjoy the process. And you know, you're doing this with your friends, and it's a good thing if you make it one.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing, one of my favorite storytellers, Woody Allen, said that 80% of success is showing up. And we have continually done that over and over and over again. And we've found that the other 20% is your attitude. And it's how you approach what happens when you show up. Because you show up with expectations, and a lot of times if you're an artist, if you're a songwriter, it gets crushed. You write a song, people hate it. It's your baby. It's really personal. It's really emotional. So your attitude going in is I would say 100% after you show up with the 20%. So I never did math well. But I would also like to say that I also have to thank Bryan. Having a good team around you. I know our management is here tonight. We've got our money managers as well. That's not the right term. That's just what I call you, because that's how I know you. Because you give me money and I say thank you. But it's so important to have a good team and a great teammate, and to know, again, your strengths and weaknesses and allow those to shine.
And a great wardrobe at the end of the day. Hey, thank you so much for